It's not a biopic then. How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's a laser-like look at a life where you point the laser at, in this case, 3 episodes: the launch of the 1984, 1988, and 1998, the launch of 3 different products in his work, but it's a laser-like intensity that allows you to actually focus on. And you pick up through the entertainment, through the exhilaration of the language and the relationships, you pick up the same information you need to pick up about a character, which is that what is this man who has forged the future, who has invented the future, what does that cost? What does it cost him? What's it cost those who love him around him? What's it cost them for him to do that? And ultimately, obviously, you arrive at some kind of redemption because he has the self-knowledge to recognise that he may have made the most beautiful things in the world, but he himself is poorly made, and he achieves that through his daughter, of course, and ultimately, although it's about all these products and launches and stuff, it's actually about the relationships with these people, his work wife Joanna Hoffman, his father figure Scully, his buddy Woz. And obviously, ultimately, his daughter, Lisa.
Danny, I'm assuming you never met him while he was alive.
I didn't know.
Right.
I think Aaron spoke to him a couple of times on the phone. That was
okay. What did your opinion of him change during the process of making the film? Because watching it, I found myself, at times changing what I thought of him.
Yes, well, I hope you do.
Yes.
Because I think what Michael's performance does is that he sets off he lays these depth charges, what I call depth charges, in the part 1 and part 2. He lays them ready and waiting, and they begin to resonate and bounce and explode as he disintegrates in Act 3, really. So it's a great performance because you do move with him. You sense that kind of energy. I mean, it's exciting. It's a bit intimidating, a bit scary as he tries to create this, basically forge a creationist myth in Act 1 about this computer, which is, he says it's the most important thing other than World War II. It's like, what? Did he just say that? Bang, like that. And then he has this river of a subterranean river of intention in Act 2, where you think, what is all this about? It doesn't work. He's launching it. And his intention is revenge on this man, another father figure who he thinks has betrayed him. And then he moves towards achievement, really, and success, and everything you could ever want, except there's something missing, of course, which is to move towards his daughter. So it's got huge changes like that, I think.
Tell me about working with Michael. It's a huge challenge for him, this role.
I couldn't believe how... What he did was he went away. So we met in Australia, and we read it through together a couple of times, and then he went away, and he didn't learn it, he just absorbed it in a way that it's his. The ownership that he achieves over it is just extraordinary, really. So he doesn't really look like Steve Jobs early on. That's not really the point. We're not doing a biopic. It's not about impersonations, or it's actually about kind of exhibiting the energy, inhabiting the energy of this man, and trying to find his vision. But by the time we got to the 3rd act, it was frightening how like him he'd become. And I was thinking, well, is that because he looks a bit more like him, or is he'd just become him? And he almost it was like speaking in voices in a way. He was him. And I think the other actors felt that as well. And they're all extraordinary in it. They're given wonderful parts, but I think they're all inspired by Michael's commitment to it, and what he'd found in exploring it, really. I never saw him look at the script. We're filming, and we rehearsed separately, that was different, but I never saw him actually have a look at the script on set. And he was never wrong, he never got his lines wrong or anything like that. It's almost like he'd become this voice, really, which is Jobs, really. And I always said, when I first described it to it, I said it's the sound of his mind. That's actually what the film is. It's the sound of this man's mind. Yeah. What is going on in that mind, really, that's kind of creating our modern world, and how we communicate with each other, how we make sounds to each other, how we connect.
I love the backstage vibe. These techie rock stars are just about to go on, aren't they?
Yeah.
To this huge acclaim. How do you think history will look at them, though, in 50 years? What will it judge them then?
Well, I think that's why these kind of films are important, that we're trying to hold them to account now, because the acceleration that they're producing, they're just moving out of our sphere. When you hear that these companies are worth more than most of the other countries in the world, there's only a few countries that are worth more than Apple. You go, what? They're just accelerating out of control, and we have to harness them. We have to pull them back and go, no, they're part of us. They represent us. Things we believe in, things we aspire to, visions we want to share in, but they're us as well. They're run by people who have terrible faults as well as wonderful attributes, really. And, our freedoms are being negotiated in that crucible of their faults and their achievements, and what are we going to do with it? So you've got to make films like this. And I think in 50 years' time, I think they'll still be talking about him. Because he'll clearly be he's put the world in our pocket. I mean, that's basically what he did. Yeah. What you do with that is up to us. And you've got to be constantly vigilant that we're not making huge mistakes in how we use that power, I think.
Can you remember your first computer, Danny?
Yes, it was an Apple II, actually.
It was an Apple II?
It was an Apple II, yeah. That was the first one which is interesting, because I'm a big believer in Woz's argument in the film that it's not binary. You can be decent and gifted at the same time. And he was kind of desperately trying to get him to acknowledge the role of the Apple II in the whole of this, and he wouldn't, because and that, I think, it illustrates it. He's unable. He's forging the future. He cannot look back. He refuses adamantly to look back. So he will not acknowledge the past, and that includes his daughter, of course, because he's just trying to create this new child, really, as he sees it. But it's Woz who says it's possible, actually, to do those two things at the same time. So I'm a big Woz fan, and so it's interesting. My first one was his computer, the Apple II.
Cool. And they've seen the film? Woz has seen the film?
Yes, he's been. He came to rehearsal a couple of times, actually, and helped us. Okay. It certainly helped Aaron a lot in the researching of the project, and he's been to see the film a couple of times, really. And I think he speaks his mind. He says what he thinks. He's quite, because listen. This is the man who invented the personal computer. He's not going to kowtow to anybody and say what people want him to say. But he was very pleased with it, I think. And I think he should be, because I think Seth's performance of him is beautiful, actually. There's a decency in the man that Seth gets just spot on, I think. Really nicely, yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.